Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Ismail. I'm a senior lecturer at School of Education. I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's seminar, organized as part of the Gaza Scholars Scheme at the University of Exeter. Today's event provides an opportunity to hear about transformative learning in conflict-affected contexts, the Tscope model. And we are very pleased to have May Nabil with us. A little bit of introduction to May. May Nabil is a science educator with the Palestinian Ministry of Education, a professional trainer affiliated with the Palestinian Trainers Syndicate, and an independent researcher. She's the developer of the Tscope model, a transformative educational framework designed for adolescents in conflict-affected areas. Her work includes a publication on education between reality and fiction, which elaborates the theoretical and practical foundations of the Tscope model. Her research focuses on transformative learning, educational design, and classroom-based innovation in challenging contexts. Without further ado, it's my great pleasure to invite May Nabil to deliver today's presentation. I have to say we'll have a few minutes at the end for some Q&A discussion. I'm sure Nabil will be happy to have your comments and discussion time, basically. Nabil, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ismail. Thank you to the University of Exeter for this opportunity. Good morning, distinguished professors, researchers, and colleagues. It's an absolute honor to be with you virtually today. I'll now share my presentation. Okay. My presentation is titled Transformative Learning for Adolescents in Conflict-Affected Contexts. I'm May Nabil Ad-Dini, a science educator at the Palestinian Ministry of Education and independent researcher in transformative learning in conflict-affected contexts, with additional rules in teacher training and educational volunteering. The work I'm sharing with you today presents the development journey of the Tscope educational model, together with the research findings accumulated across successive implementation phases. Firstly, what is transformative education? It is a holistic educational approach aligned with OECD Learning Compass 2030, which emphasizes moving beyond knowledge transmission toward enabling to develop transformative competencies for a rapidly changed world. Transformative competencies refer to the capacities that enable learners to contribute to shaping their own future and the future of their communities. They are typically organized into three domains: creating new value, reconciling tensions and dilemmas, and taking responsibility. To understand why such an approach became necessary, it is important to first consider the educational and psychological realities in which this work was developed. أميرة؟
يسمع معك. كنت بدي أقول له هلا ينتقل أو يبين الحركات اللي في السلايد نفسها. أعتقد هو
المشاركة عندي مشيت، يعني ممكن من عندي أشارك تاني عشان الانتقالات أسهل، عشان ما أضلش أقول له شيء.
Okay, Mr. Ismail, excuse me. Can you hear me, Mr. Ismail?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Great. So May tells that she can now share the screen, and it's just no problem. I mean, with sharing the screen now with her.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want me to
She
share
can
the
handle
screen,
it.
or she can do it herself?
She can do it. I think
Okay.
she has fixed the problem.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we're all listening. Yeah,
تمام مي.
thank you.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah. What about the others?
I think it's uploading now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can now, yeah. Yes, that's fine. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Educational and psychological challenges in conflict. The interruption of regular schooling due to the destruction of schools and repeated displacement. Psychological trauma associated with violence, continuous bombardment, loss of safety, loved ones, homes, and privacy. Together with prolonged hardship, unstable learning environments, and severe shortages of basic necessities created profound challenges for adolescents' learning and well-being. The photographs show groups of students gathering among the rubble and destruction. Despite these conditions, they reflect resilience, hope, and strong determination to continue learning and supporting one another. The students' drawings provide another perspective. They became a means of emotional expression, portraying collapsed buildings, fear, cries for help, grief, and loss. These visual narratives highlight the depth of psychological distress and reinforce the need for educational approaches that integrate learning with psychological recovery. Beyond the immediate effects of conflict, the data revealed a set of deeper developmental and educational challenges. First, there is future orientation crisis, where adolescents are not only uncertain about the future, but struggle to construct a stable and coherent vision of it, which affects planning and long-term motivation. Second, there is a fragile sense of safety, where ongoing instability and exposure to threat directly affect attention, emotional regulation, and learning engagement. Third, there is accelerated developmental burden, as many adolescents assume economic, social, and family responsibilities beyond their developmental stage, leading to early role transitions. Fourth, there is an aspiration opportunity gap, where learners hold high ambitions but face structural constraints that limit the translation of these aspirations into achievable pathways. Fifth, there is a persistent cognitive and emotional load, where prolonged stress consumes cognitive resources, affecting concentration, memory, and sustained engagement in learning. Six, challenges in self-regulation and decision-making emerge, including difficulties in managing emotions, prioritizing tasks, and sustaining goal-directed behavior. Seventh, there is a process of meaning and identity construction. Students rely on faith, values, family, and social responsibility to interrupt difficult experiences, meaning making here functions not only as a coping mechanism, but also an educational resource that can strengthen resilience and adaptability. Finally, we observe long-term psychological impact. Manifestations include fear, grief, trauma-related symptoms, social withdrawal, sleep disturbances, anger, and feelings of helplessness. These directly affect educational participation, academic achievement, and social interaction within learning environments. Overall, these challenges indicate that educational difficulties in this context are not isolated academic issues, but interconnected developmental, psychological, and structural conditions that directly shape learning capacity. These findings revealed an intervention gap. Most existing interventions focus either on psychological recovery or on academic achievement, while largely neglecting transformative competencies. However, adolescents require an integrated approach that addresses all of these dimensions simultaneously. Therefore, a new educational model was needed. First, to integrate psychological development with deep learning. Second, to transform lived challenges into meaningful learning opportunities. Third, to strengthen learners' agency and self-efficacy. Fourth, to cultivate transformative competencies for an uncertain future. And fifth, to connect human development with academic learning within a coherent framework. This need led to the development of the Tscope model through field-based work. The Tscope model emerged from a field-based initiative titled Black Holes, which targeted approximately 500 adolescents aged 14 to 18. It consisted of 12 drama-based learning contexts implemented over an 8-month period from 2023 to 2024. The initiative served as an empirical testing ground for drama-based and transformative learning approaches. Through this process, recurring patterns of psychological and cognitive needs were identified, which shaped the core principles of the Tscope. Based on these findings, a structured developmental design was developed. The model was operationalized through a structured sequence of learning contexts designed in response to identified developmental needs. These contexts form a continuous developmental trajectory for emotional processing and meaning-making toward cognitive integration and transformative learning rather than isolated activities. Phase 1 focuses on emotional expression, trauma processing, and meaning-making under conditions of conflict, represented in two field contexts. Messages from the heart of the inferno, and when the heart breathes, the cells heal. This phase established emotional awareness and trauma expression. Phase 2 focuses on emotional regulation, responsibilities, and self-management. An example context is when our inner flow is regulated, our outcomes illuminate. This phase shifted learners from instability toward structured self-regulation. Phase 3 focuses on scientific reasoning, higher order thinking, and knowledge integration. At this stage, learners engaged in deeper cognitive and disciplinary learning. The figures illustrate these developmental transitions within field work, from emotional and psychological processing in phase 1 to self-regulation strategies in phase 2, and finally to increasingly complex scientific practices through the integrated stream approach in phase 3. Together, these phases form the foundation of the Tscope conceptual model. Tscope is a transformative educational framework that integrates psychological regulation within academic learning with academic learning within authentic experiential context to develop learners' transformative competencies. The model consists of 6 interconnected components. Process trauma, which provides an experiential and emotionally engaged learning environment. Mantle of the expert, which positions learners in authentic expert roles. Integrated stream, which connects scientific and interdisciplinary inquiry. Values-based learning, which anchors learning in ethical and social dimensions. Real-world problem solving, which connects learning to lived realities. Collaborative learning, which supports interaction and collective knowledge construction. Together, these components operate as an integrated system rather than separate instructional elements. To understand the theoretical grounding of this model, I'll now outline its foundations. First, educational neuroscience, which highlights the dynamic interaction between emotion and cognition, especially during adolescence, when emotional systems are highly active while executive functions are still developing. This supports the use of emotionally engaged, experiential, and multisensory learning, which strengthen neuroplasticity. Second, educational psychology, which emphasizes that learning is deeply influenced by psychological state. In context of stress, the model prioritizes psychological safety, emotional regulation, and learner agency as prerequisites for cognitive engagement. Third, social learning theory, which views learning as a socially mediated process that through collaboration, dialogue, and shared meaning making. Fourth, constructivism, which positions learners as active constructors of knowledge through inquiry, problem solving, and authentic tasks supported by stream integration. Finally, transformative learning. Transformative learning theory, which represents the core of the model, where learning goes beyond knowledge acquisition toward critical reflection, perspective transformation, and the development of transformative competencies. Together, these foundations form an integrated framework that connects emotional development, cognitive growth, and competence building within a unified learning system. This figure illustrates the model as it operates within real-life contexts. Phase 1 represents psychological trauma. The process begins with learners experiencing distress, helplessness, and the desire to escape from difficult realities. Neurophysiologically, intense stress activates the amygdala, while reducing the effectiveness of the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for reasoning, decision-making, and future planning. Phase 2 represents the transformative recovery process. The model guides learners from helplessness toward agency, hope, and future building through thematically structured learning contexts, supported by Mantle of the expert, which shifts learners from passive recipients to active contributors and problem solvers. Integrated stream learning combines scientific inquiry with the arts and symbolic expression to address both cognitive and emotional needs. Reflective moments enable learners to process experiences, develop self-awareness, and build resilience. Phase 3 represents empowerment and growth. Learners move from despair towards self-worth, confidence, and future orientation. This transformation is reflected in the development of self-awareness, emotional maturity, positive coping skills, ethical decision-making, critical thinking, and responsible citizenship. Overall, the model suggests that recovery is not merely healing over time, but structured cognitive, emotional, and behavioral transformation that turns adversity into growth, future building, and positive social contribution. To evaluate the developmental impact of the Tscope model, a participatory mixed methods approach was employed. Experimental and quasi-experimental design were adopted according to the objectives of each phase and the educational conditions at the time. Quantitative and qualitative data were collected using validated instruments and analyzed used SPSS and thematic content analysis. Throughout the project, validity, reliability, and ethical procedures were ensured. Qualitative analysis of students' written reflections was conducted with the support of an educational counselor specialized in psychology. When educational conditions permitted, control groups were included. During periods of mass displacement and suspension of formal schooling, some implementation phases necessarily adopted one group pre-post design, as all participating adolescents voluntarily joined the only available educational intervention. I'll now present the main findings, which provide strong empirical evidence supporting the effectiveness of Tscope. The bar chart indicates consistent improvement across the three measures: self-efficacy, psychological resilience, and self-directed learning. All measures show statistically significant differences between pre- and post-test means. The effect size for GSE is large. CD risk ranges from medium to large. SDLRS demonstrates a very large effect size. The social skills scale also showed statistically significant differences in favor of the experimental group with a medium to large effect size. As for academic achievement, statistically significant differences were observed in favor of the post-test in the experimental group with a large effect size. This improvement is attributed to the Tscope-based intervention. Transformative competencies. Beyond academic outcomes, transformative competencies also showed positive development. The strongest gains appeared in scientific reasoning, analytical thinking, and problem solving, while additional growth was observed in social, reflective communicative, and innovative dimensions. These findings remain exploratory, as the assessment instrument was designed for a specific educational context, but they indicate a shift toward higher order transformative function. To understand how these changes emerged, an integrated interpretation is presented. At baseline, adolescents showed low self-efficacy, weak resilience, limited self-directed learning, and survival-oriented focus, largely due to the challenges they faced. After the intervention, these domains improved as interconnected outcomes of a single pedagogical system. Mantle of the expert effect. Learners shifted from "what is happening to me" to "what can I do about it?", developing agency, responsibility, and competence. Resilience emerged as a constructed capacity through drama, ethical dilemmas, reflection, and collaboration. Self-directed learning improved through inquiry-based and real-world tasks, enhancing planning, focus organization, and independent learning, Social skills developed through collaborative rules and authentic learning contexts that enabled communication, cooperation, and problem solving. Academic achievement improved through emotionally meaningful, multisensory inquiry-based learning rather than test preparation. Overall, psychological well-being and academic learning functions as a mutually reinforcing outcomes within the Tscope model. These drawings from students show the imagined safe environment on the right. In the middle, ability and resilience showed by the words expressing in being from Gaza. Adaptation and psychological flexibility in the third picture. And this is a certificate for a distance self-learning course, which have completed by student Rawan after a month of the end of the project. And there are many similar certificates for a number of students who participated in the project. I'll now present the qualitative findings. Student reflections showed that learning became a source of stability, meaning, and hope. 6 key dimensions emerged: scientific engagement, self-confidence, peer collaboration, self-reflection, future clarity, and a redefinition of learning as a process of recovery. In conclusion, the findings indicate that Tscope functions as a developmental learning system in which psychological, cognitive, and academic changes emerged as interconnected outcomes. The pattern of change across phases is consistent with the theoretical structure of the model, providing coherent empirical support for its design. Across the quantitative and qualitative results, learners showed improvements in self-efficacy, resilience, self-directed learning, social skills, and academic achievement, along with emerging transformative competencies such as scientific reasoning, analytical thinking, and problem solving. Student reflections further indicated shifts toward greater meaning, stability, collaboration, and future orientation. These results suggest that psychological well-being and academic learning operated as mutually reinforcing process within a single integrated pedagogical system. Although developed in a conflict-affected context, Tscope is not context-specific. It can be applied across diverse educational settings as it connects emotional engagement, cognitive development, and competence building within a unified framework. While the current evidence is strong across multiple phases, the model remains evolving. Future work will focus on further validation in different contexts, longitudinal studies, refinement of transformative competencies alongside broader implementation in structured educational systems, and develop teacher training based on the Tscope model. I'm currently working on some of these directions. Overall, Tscope represents an evolving educational model that integrates learning and development into a coherent transformative process. Thank you for your attention. I welcome your questions.
Excellent. Many thanks. Thanks very much, May, for such an insightful and thought-provoking presentation. I really enjoyed it. So now we have some time for questions and discussion. If you would like to ask a question, can I ask you please raise your hand? and if you can, please introduce yourself before asking your question. Okay. You can also put your question in the chat box if you want. I'll do my best to take care of both the chat box and your hand raising if you want. Well, can I ask a question myself first?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. I found the model very interesting, quite interesting, really, to apply, and your intervention especially. I was wondering if there was any particular reason for choosing 9th grade students for the experiment. Any particular sort of rationale for choosing 9th graders for your sample?
أقول لك إيش السبب اللي خلاك تختار الصف التاسع على وجه التحديد يعني؟
الصف التاسع. اخترت الصف التاسع لأنه أكثر مرحلة لدي خبرة بالتعامل معها. أنا أعمل مع طلبة الصف التاسع منذ 16 عام، وهي هذه المرحلة تمثل ذروة فترة المراهقة. وفترة المراهقة كما نعلم أنه هي فترة انتقالية يحدث فيها الكثير من التغيرات والتحولات لدى هذه الفئة، فهي تحتاج إلى رعاية فعلية في كل مكان وليس فقط في بيئات الصراع. هي مرحلة تحول وبناء الهوية لدى هذه الفئة، وبناء المواطنة والمسؤولية الفردية والمسؤولية الجماعية. Translate, please.
Okay. Well, so she said that she has been working for 9th graders as a teacher and educator for the 9th graders for about 16 years. And this age particularly is the age of teenaging, and those people in particular in this stage of their life, there are many changes and challenges, and they need help, and you need to take care of them, you know. And it's actually the age of building the identity, holding responsibility, even individually, the personal responsibility, or even the community, the responsibility, their responsibility towards the community.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks very much. So the floor is open to other people, other participants here. Any questions, please? I have other questions, but I thought I would leave the floor open to people to raise their questions to me, please.
Okay, I have a question, but I will ask it in Arabic so she can answer it. Then Amira will translate both question and answers.
Is that you, Imad? Imad,
Yeah,
you can do the translation yourself as well, I think. Yes, please do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, May. بس بدي أسأل سؤال. أنت في نهاية البرزنتيشن قلتي إنه التجربة هو الفريم ورك بيقدر يتعمم على حتى مناطق ثانية. أنا ما قدرتش. أنت بتتكلمي عن وضع مختلف في غزة، يعني إحنا بنحكي عن دمار في المؤسسات التعليمية، فيش مدارس، نتكلم عن طلاب لهم 3 سنين في أوضاع نفسية صعبة. لما أقول إني بقدر أعمم هذا الكلام على مناطق ثانية، يعني بنحكي عن مناطق عادية ولا مناطق صراع برضه؟ هاي اللي بدي أفهم بس النقطة هذه. And before you can answer, قبل ما تجاوبي, I asked about that she at the end of her presentation she said that this framework, this experiment can be generalized in other places. My question was, did she mean that we can generalize this in other conflict affected areas or in general?
Thank you.
Actually, I'm trying to call her to make sure or to see what's the problem.
If you can, please do. We have
supposedly.
ممكن يتطبق فيه سواء كان سياق في تعليم نظامي أو تعليم غير نظامي، سياق صراع أو سياق مستقر. ليه؟ لعدة أسباب. أول حاجة تسكوب لما تم تصميمه كانت الفكرة الأساسية تطبيقه على أي فئة مستهدفة سواء كانت مراهقين أو شباب بحيث تنمي عندهم الكفاءات التحويلية. الهدف الأساسي من النموذج اللي هو الدمج بين التنظيم الانفعالي مش إن الريجوليشن مع اللي هو تحقيق النمو المعرفي والشخصي للفئة المستهدفة. هذا الدمج لجميع الفئات في جميع الأماكن في العالم، وخاصة لما بنحكي عن فئة المراهقين زي ما حكينا لأنه هي فيها مرحلة انتقالية، مرحلة بتتأثر بالتغيرات البيئية والاجتماعية اللي حولهم بشكل كبير جدا، ومرحلة بناء الهوية والشخصية عند هذه الفئة. بالنسبة للنتائج اللي تم الحصول عليها في تنمية جوانب مختلفة، جميع الجوانب المناسبة والمقاييس اللي تم تطبيقها هي عبارة عن جوانب للكفاءات التحويلية المقصودة ولكن بشكل تفصيلي، يعني كل مقياس كان لكفاءة معينة. النتائج اللي حصلنا عليها ووجود مجموعات ضابطة وتجريبية، أحجام الأثر اللي كانت ظاهرة، والتأملات الكتابية، وهذه أهم جزء وأكبر جزء أثبت إنه النموذج فعال في تنمية الكفاءات عند الطلاب. كمان لما بنحكي عن الموضوعات اللي بيتناولها السياق المصمم وفق نموذج تسكوب، ممكن يكون مثلا في البيئات اللي ما فيها صراع يتناول التراث المحلي، ممكن يتناول اللي هو بعض القضايا والأزمات الإنسانية العالمية، مثلا قضايا البيئية زي التغير المناخي، ويشتغل عليها الطالب كإكسبرت. هيك احنا بنوصل لبناء خبرة ومهارة عند الطالب، بنعلي الكفاءة، بنعلي قدرته. فالأهداف اللي بيسعى لها النموذج هي أهداف يحتاجها جميع الأفراد على مستوى العالم كله، لأنه الكفاءات التحويلية لما احنا بنرجع لها الأصلي هي بترجع لمنظمة التعاون الاقتصادي والتنمية اللي هي OECD، وهي أقرتها ككفاءات مطلوبة في عام 2030، وبالتالي العمل عليها ضروري جدا في هذه الفترة للجميع في جميع السياقات.
شكرا.
العفو.
Thank you, May. I would appreciate it if you make your answers a bit shorter, just so that we can make time for other people to ask their questions. Thank you, appreciate it. Any translations from Imad or Professor Salah? Thanks, Salah, for joining us. Imad, do you mind?
I think Dr. Salah sent like something about what she said. In short, she said a long answer, but in short, yes, this model can be, because it was designed to be implemented in any context. It's not like exclusive for war context, because students can use like heritage, something like that, any other subject to go with this model.
Great, thank you. Thanks, May. Any other questions? We have like about 5 minutes. 5 more minutes. Nali, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, yeah.
I have a question for you. I know this topic is related to.
So for the question from Nelly, or Miss Nelly, let's say, May says that the model itself goes through different phases. I mean, the student himself. So it starts actually with a process drama to make the student engaged emotionally. And then it goes to the stage of having a dilemma, and in particular, the ethical dilemma, moving towards the inquiry, in which students start to build their experience and experimenting in new, let's say, social or emotional situations, moving up to being an expert in different situations in life, to be a decision maker as an expert.
أميرة، هنا بدنا نكمل كمان إنه كل هذه الأربع مراحل بتعمل كلها كسلسلة